Well, if my hearing aids are working correctly, that would be Nat King Cole ushering us onto the air this morning. Program of Viewpoint, of course. Program of politicians and perspectives and something else, personalities. How about that? Would that work?
That's a
Well,
P.
I just checking to see. I just checking if you knew what you were doing this morning. All right. Those of you, both of you who out there listening, hang on every word we say. Will remember that we always try to start Viewpoint with a kudo or two. And it seems to be especially appropriate this morning since our guest this morning, formerly associated with Cutler Hammer, which is Eaton Industries now. People who contribute to charities in the community. And that will be the subject of our conversation this morning for the most part. But I mentioned that particularly this morning because, as we said just a few minutes ago off air with our guest, Eaton Industries has always been a very important part of and they came here as Cutler Hammer, by the way. And they've been a very, very integral part of our community in their interaction with helping out on various charities. And as I said just a couple of minutes ago, one of the little things they did, but really it's kind of a big thing, they've made an athletic field available for youth football. Now, I know some people say, so what? Well, the point of it is that they've made that effort, and that youth football field gives coaches and little rugrats out there a chance to learn their football skills. And so thanks to Eaton Industries. So let's get around, let's quit fooling around here and just introduce our guest formally and officially.
Why didn't you just go on and...
No, that's you. We sound the trumpet.
Oh, all right, okay. Okay, well, we're very happy to have with us someone that Bill and Jim and I have known for a long time, Patti Becker. Mm-hmm. And Patti, you grew up here, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I moved here in the 4th grade, when I was in the 4th grade. So, yes, pretty much.
Pretty little.
That's pretty little, yeah.
I think you can call yourself a Lincolnite.
I think so.
I think she's a veteran now.
I don't remember much before that.
Yes. Well, now you are the administrative director of United Way. Mm-hmm. Now, United Way has been an entity in the U.S. of A. for a very long time. It was one of the early ones, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it was a real innovative idea at the time. You know, it used to be that this charity would go out on its own and that on its own, and somebody came up with the idea that we could unite, and get it out of the way in one fell swoop.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah.
Now, mainly, does United Way work through industries and contact people in that manner? Although I've gotten mail from them, and I'm hardly in industry. I live in a little apartment.
Yeah. In terms of fundraising, the original United Way was very much industry based. So the advantage of that was that corporations would allow employees, they would have United Way campaigns at their locations, and they still do, and they would allow employees to give like $1 a week or $2 a week through payroll deduction, and then of course that adds up to, for one person, $50 or $100 a year, and if you're doing that with thousands of people, then you have you have a very good campaign and you have a lot of income. So that is the way a lot of big corporations do that today, and United Way was their focus. But United Way started in Denver, I think it was in, I don't know the exact date, probably the 40s, I believe, 1940s. And it was started by religious leaders who just wanted to take advantage of a community way to help others. And so to allow everybody to give a little so that they could help others in the community, that's how United Way started. And in Logan County, we just celebrated 60 years. In October of 1961, the community leaders of Logan County, well, it was actually Lincoln at the time, just Lincoln, decided to bring the United Way to Lincoln because they'd heard about it in other communities, and they decided to start it here. So Emil Stallhut, who was the CEO of the hospital, both St. Clair's, was that the name of the older hospital before it became Lincoln Memorial, Abraham Lincoln Memorial? was instrumental in getting that started. And he was active in United Way for many, many years in Lincoln, and then when it became all of Logan County. So
He was a very active type guy, wasn't he?
he was. And the first campaign in 1961 was supported, they chose 5 different, I think it was 5. It was Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Red Cross, and Salvation Army, all of which we still support today. Partially, we don't fully fund them, and then there was another organization that's no longer there. So those were the original nonprofits that they supported, and so they started the campaign, and it was all business oriented, and they had so many volunteers. I went back through all the old couriers and looked at all the reports, and they must have
Really?
had 50 or 60 volunteers across the community. Their goal was, if I remember correctly, to raise about $40,000, and they raised most of that, so they were successful. So that's how it got started. So yeah.
And you think about that for just a minute, just a second. We go about our daily lives, things going along all right from 99% of us, or maybe not quite that far, but the major portion of us go along with our daily lives, and we don't know about the need that's out there. And every day the sun comes up out of the eastern sky, somebody has a not a little need, a crying need.
Exactly.
And so United Way in its concept reaches out to help all those little folks who don't have any place else to go for some assistance.
Correct.
That and the Salvation Army, of course, they do a wonderful job. But being able to collect money, use the word en masse, that's really not correct, but in a larger way, and then distribute it to these folks various agencies and organizations that help these folks on the street, that's a marvelous way. That's the American way.
Right. And most people don't know all of the agencies and the resources that are available in the community. I've always said, I wish everyone could sit and listen to. One of the things we do every year to decide how we're going to distribute the money that we do receive is sit down and talk to each agency, and they tell us what they do for the community, how many people they serve, what kind of services they have. And when you hear those stories, you just appreciate those resources so much, those organizations, and most people don't get to hear those stories all the time. So we try to get those out there as much as possible, but there are so many organizations here that do so much. And so it's interesting to hear all of the things that they do.
I have a friend who heads up a food bank here in Lincoln. And it's amazing to talk to somebody who's really in on the ground floor of any of these things. We have no idea of the crying need that there is on the part of people.
Right.
And I think if we were more aware, we'd be more generous.
Right.
Just a trip down Logan Street around our Logan County Food Pantry, or over at Holy Family when they have their food pantry, and see all the cars out there, and you stop and think for a minute, Gordy, there must be a lot of need out there.
Yeah. There's
So
some good,
your
good
guest this morning,
organizations.
Patti Becker, 648-5510. She's associated with United Way, another way of giving back to our community. And we need to remember every day we get up how lucky we are, because there are those out there who are not that lucky.
Right.
And United Way is in a great way enables people who are in need.
One of the resources that we've been able to bring to the community this past year is the 211 line. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Let's talk about that a minute.
Yeah, please.
211 is, it's like 911. It's an easy number to remember, 211. So if you need resources or help, you simply dial 211. And it connects you to an organization in Bloomington called PATH, which has been there for many years. And
Would you spell that, please?
It's PATH, P-A-T-H.
Okay.
And they've been there for many years, and they service many communities in central Illinois. I don't know how many off the bat, but they have 24/7 operators there, and they have a database of resources. So if you need help with rent, for example, and you're in Logan County, they can look up what organizations in Logan County can help you with rent or any kind of financial or health assistance, anything like that. So we work with them to help maintain the database and make sure the services are there. We sponsor it as United Way of Logan County so that Logan County residents can use that service. So we just were able to do that in the last year and include Logan County in that database. And we've had really a lot. I think I looked earlier, it's been over 200 calls during the year. In the last 30 days, there have been 30 calls into 211 from Logan County. So the other thing that gives us an opportunity to see is we don't see who's calling, but we see what they're calling about. So they give us data back on how many people are calling about rent assistance or utility assistance or substance abuse help. So we get that information so we can see in our community where people are needing, the most assistance.
What category in the county of Logan seems to be the category that calls for help most often?
Housing.
Is that right?
Either rent assistance or shelter care are what people call about. And of course, we don't have a shelter in Lincoln or in Logan County, but they do. That is the high. It's about 30% of the calls are about housing.
Really, that's quite high. Now, if you get a call about substance abuse, then does it follow that you would go to our health department on 3rd Street to work with them on that? Or let's say somebody called in to have a serious substance abuse problem. How do you address that with it?
Well, they would look in the database to see who's available, what kind of services are available to our county for people with that kind of an issue. It probably wouldn't be the health department. It probably would be either a counseling. It might be a counseling service that's available.
Is there not a housing authority in Logan County?
There is a housing authority in Logan
Now,
County.
do they act as a clearinghouse for rental properties at all?
I don't work with the housing authority, but I think they mainly run public housing. So people that need public housing can go through the housing authority, like if if they need rent assistance. To live in a lower rent community, but we don't work with them.
Do we have that available here?
Yes. Yes.
648-5510. You might formulate your questions. Once again, we're going to fool around and get to 8:30, and we won't even acknowledge our sponsors. So we're going to take a couple of minutes for that, and we're going to go right back. Mrs. Becker, I wanted to ask you a little off-air question. We have an active ministerial association in town. The Ministerial Association. Do we still? I just wondered if they, as a group, can be of any assistance with.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know that they're formally organized.
Substance abuse counseling. That's in and of itself a special niche.
Yes, huge.
Welcome back to Viewpoint. We're live here in the studios, high on the hill at County Road 2250. Our guest this morning is Patti Becker, and she's got a very important message for us regarding helping our fellow citizens, some of whom are in dire need. We're talking about United Way. Mrs. Becker has been involved with charitable giving for a long time when she was with Cutler Hammer and or Eaton Industries, I should say, which is. What did they turn from Cutler Hammer to Eaton Industries? Way early on in their
70s, I believe. I think. Well, I think it was in the 70s. Yeah.
Well, in any event, to business at hand, we're talking. You mentioned you wanted to talk about. There's a library that you wanted to mention, Mrs. Becker. So go right ahead on that.
Well, we were through United Way. We were able to bring the Dolly Parton Imagination Library to a good part of Logan County in the last year.
Jim Ash reads those Dolly Parton books all the time.
If you're not familiar with that library, Dolly Parton started this in her community in Tennessee. I don't remember where she's from, but in Tennessee.
Pigeon Forge, I think.
Pigeon Forge, okay. There was a very low graduation rate in the high school. And she wanted to do something to help education. And her father was illiterate. He could not read. He was a very smart man, but he never was able to go to school, and he could not read. So she, very early on, recognized the importance of learning to read. So she started a library, and with her resources, she was very wealthy at the time and was donating this. She decided to provide books for kids preschool because a lot of the children in her community could not afford to buy books. So she started a program where she sent a book a month to the child's home from the age of birth through 5. Kids graduate from the program at 5 because they go to kindergarten.
That's an investment in that length of time. My goodness.
So the kids that signed up, they would get a book every week, and they saw a dramatic increase in kids' readiness when they got to school and their ability to do well in school and their graduation rate. So they saw a lot of success in that program, and it also began to grow because other communities wanted to join that as well. So it's now worldwide. They've sent out millions of books, and it's available to communities. There is a cost. It's about $2 or $3 a book. So you need to have some funding to make sure that you can support that, the books. But through some grants and some donations, we've been able to grow the library in Logan County, which we just started last year in Hartsburg. Nicole Folkman, who's the librarian in Hartsburg-Emden, is a huge literary proponent, and she's a librarian for the school district, and she had the same interest in bringing the program to the community. So she and I got together, and through United Way's connection, we were able to get it started in Hartsburg. And then through some funds, through grants that we applied for, we've been able to grow it to almost every small town. We haven't been able to add Lincoln yet because of the cost, but that's our goal, is to do that at some point. So we have 114 kids right now in Logan County that are getting books every month, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback about their enjoyment of that. And it's just getting it at home with their name on it, and then they're beautiful quality books, and they are chosen by, they're very, they're well chosen by a committee that Dolly Parton has, that, they look at all these books and choose which ones are going to go every year to each kid. So it's an amazing program, and we've been able to get some really good backing. The original funding we received was a grant from the Illinois Prairie Community Fund, and then we just recently received a grant from International Paper Foundation. Oh. And also Nicole had won an award because of all of her literary work, and she moved some of that work back, or some of that money, to the Dolly Parton Library for Logan County. So we've been getting, and we've had some private donations and some other organizational donations. So that helps us fund it, and they do all the shipping out. They ship out all the books, and so we just have to keep the database of who's registered and all of that. So it's a wonderful program, and we're hoping that the community benefits from the kids just being ready for school and having a love of reading and learning when they go to school. So
that's where it starts.
A beautiful
that's the ground.
idea.
That's the ground zero.
Yeah.
God bless Dolly Parton.
Yes.
So
can you
hats
just
off to her, and hats off to all of you volunteers. You were at ground level here in Lincoln, Logan County, and you're making that work. And what an impact that has. If it's only 10 youngsters, so what?
Yeah.
That's 10
Well, it's
youngsters.
grown. Yeah, it grows gradually, but we've had 28 kids that have graduated from the program, because when they turn age 5, then they graduate from the program.
That's really neat.
Yeah, so we keep trying to get the word out there so people will register their kids in Hartsburg, Emden, Mount Pulaski, Elkhart. I'm going to forget somebody, Middletown, Cornland, all those little communities were able to do that because of the numbers of kids. So.
Well, not only what it's going to do for all these kids as they get to be school age, but just think of their faces when they get a book in the mail. Oh, gracious. When they're only 3,
Yes.
just
Becker,
little.
put your headset on, dear.
Yeah, I will.
We have a caller. I'll wait just a minute till the old fella gets set. Go right ahead, caller, please.
Yes, I had 2 questions about the Dolly Parton book program. First of all, is Atlanta involved yet in that program? And then the second question, my children in Tennessee, at the hospital where they were born, were given a slip that if they wanted to sign up for the program right there at the hospital at birth, they could do that. Is it that way here in Logan County?
Well, we don't have the program in Atlanta yet. That's the other community where they have quite a large number of kids. We actually have been looking at that in the last few months, so hopefully we'll be able to get there. there. We haven't done that with the hospital yet, although because of the differentiation between the communities. But I think it's something that, and I have to work with the hospital on this if they're willing to do it, but I think it's something that we could start so that if people come from eligible communities, we can give everybody a book. They may not be in an eligible community, but we can get that started. But yes, that is a part of the program normally. They're given the book, what's that one? I Think I Can, I Think I Can. It's one of Dolly Parton's favorites, and I think that's the first book they get when they're
The Little Engine That
The Little Engine That Could. There you go, yeah. So we hope to get there. We're not doing that yet, but we hope that we can do that in the future.
Did that help you, caller?
Yes, thank you. And I will say the books are lovely, and the children do just look forward to it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that information. That's very helpful. Well, it's nice to have somebody that's interested and was familiar with the Dolly Parton Library business.
Yes, it's a great program. Great program.
That shows you it's somebody who's in a position. She had this idea, and rather than just take her money and run to the bank, she decided to do something.
She says she's done documentaries on this program, and she says that's her. The thing she's most proud of is they call her the book lady. All the kids call her the book lady, and that's the thing in her career she's most proud of is the Dolly Parton Library. So,
well, if that's the way she goes out with the book lady, I can't think of a better attribute than that.
I can't either. I can't either. Yeah.
Do you meet on a regular basis with your United Way group here? And how many would be in your local group, Mrs. Becker?
We have a board of directors that leads the organization, and there are about around 12, 13 members of the board.
Well, that's a big
and
board.
we meet monthly. So we have a monthly meeting. We have an annual meeting coming up in January where we, install our officers and everything. So we meet monthly. When we do during the year, we also have one time where we have some more lengthy meetings with all of the agencies that are asking for funding help. So those are really interesting meetings that we have with them to talk about what they're doing. Our process is every year we ask who would like to apply for funding. We take those applications, we talk to them, and then we make decisions based on what we think our funding levels are going to be and that kind of thing. So
here again, on the ground level, volunteers giving
It's
of
all
their own
volunteer.
time and their talents. And it takes some talent to do that. It's just not, just can't show up and say, what do I do?
Right.
So it just emphasizes the importance of volunteers in a small community.
it does, yes. Yeah.
And
You
so
do.
all of you folks who have your shoes in a volunteer position, thank you for that. Now, annually, do you have to set a budget, and that's a hope for thing.
Yes.
Because
Well,
you're
it's
never sure exactly how much money you're going to be able to work with.
That's true. That's true. It
Does
used
it
to be
fluctuate much, though?
not a lot during COVID.
Yes.
In the last couple of years, there's been a lot of generosity through that time period. So there have been a lot of grants. There's a lot of government money. So during times like that, I think you see an uptick in giving and in support. But normally, it's pretty steady. We always try to grow it. It's not as much in our community. It's not as much business anymore because we don't have that. We were talking before. I think before we got on air that there used to be much more industry here that has left. So we don't have the large organization. Eaton is a huge supporter of United Way, and we couldn't be here without them. They have their corporation contributes. I think it's 50 cents on the dollar for every employee that contributes. And of course, they're a large organization, and they run a great campaign. So they are a big part of what we do here. And we don't have those other large we've got great small businesses in Lincoln, and they're supportive of the community so much, but we don't have those large businesses. But through our affiliation through the National United Way, we are connected to large organizations outside our community where our community people work, like Caterpillar, different organizations. I can't think of, I'm going brain dead. Large organizations that actually are headquartered in other counties, but people work there from here. So money from them comes back from their campaigns comes back to Logan County. So Logan County residents that live that work at Caterpillar can designate their funds to come back here and still take advantage of those payroll deductions and company matches. So we get corporate matches from Caterpillar and from Caterpillar employees that give. So there's a lot of money coming from a lot of different directions to our community, both within and and out of it. So
Who does all this bookkeeping? That
Me.
sounds. Do you really? Oh, yeah. Holy Friday!
And that's
thank
considerable.
goodness for Excel
yes,
spreadsheets.
Yeah,
Oh boy!
Yeah, but that's a big part of the job, is just keeping track of where that's coming from and making sure everyone's thanked. So we've had to do more, transition more to individuals, do more mailings, things like that, to try to make sure, not only to ask for money, but also to make sure the community knows about what we do, about the organizations we support and what they do. And so we've had to do a little bit more of that because we don't have the contacts in large organizations that we used to have, many years ago. So it's changed a lot. Mm-hmm. And corporate giving has changed a lot.
But we would have giving at the time of a death. Somebody who could designate United Way
Yes.
As a memorial to them,
Absolutely.
which would be a very nice, some people get mad at their grandkids. No, seriously, I don't want to be,
No, really.
I don't want to be facetious about
No.
this. That would be if somebody's trying to plan their estate and just kind of remember United Way.
That
An
would-
ancillary way
That's
to
fantastic.
give
We
a
have
little
had
extra
that
money.
happen. We've had that happen, and
That's nice.
and it's a really great way to affect the whole community. A lot of people have nonprofits and organizations that they really like to support because of what they do, and that's great. Everybody should do that. The organizations that they like to support. The United Way allows a gift to touch a lot of people. So the organizations we support thousands of people in the community throughout the year. So it touches a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
How about this corporate giving? Is there a lot of that?
A lot of corporations have, as a regular rule, if their employees give to any organization, they will match it to some extent. Sometimes, usually it's like 50 cents to the dollar, or dollar for dollar.
But that's a pretty good match.
It's wonderful. State Farm, for example, is their foundation will match any donation to any organization that a nonprofit, a qualifying organization, that their employees want to give to. They will match that. They've got a lot of great programs at State Farm. So dollar for dollar. So anyone that gives $100 to United Way that works for State Farm can apply for a match, and State Farm matches that at $100. So it's doubled.
That's very generous.
Yes, it's very
Am I
generous.
correct in commenting in this manner? It seems, quote, and the word is in quote, it seems to me that Eaton Industries seems to be a leader in getting their employees to contribute to charities in their community. Am I correct in that?
Yes, and they also have a great foundation. I'm not sure the exact name of it. The Eaton Corporation, it used to be the foundation, but they want to support communities where they're doing business. So they have grant programs that organizations can apply for every year, and then through this application process, money comes back to our community from the foundation, because they want to, since they're doing business here, they want to support that. They're very big in United Way throughout the country, and they have huge campaigns throughout, and they're very generous in supporting those campaigns. So they want to help the communities in which they're doing business. So they work a lot with community leaders and to do
But
that.
at the local level, Mrs. Becker, you're the juggler, because you have the balls in the air. You're the lady who's kind of responsible for the dollars as they come in and how to allocate those various monies through your auspices of your board's direction and so forth.
Yes, with the board's direction. Yeah, we make those decisions as a group. So
How many people do you have on your board?
it's around 13. Yeah.
And that's pretty static?
Yeah, we're lucky right now. We have a lot of younger.
That's good.
From my perspective, that's great because I'm older. So I'm not trying to categorize people.
Well, wait
but
till you get there, kid.
a lot of younger people that have joined our board, and I just am thrilled about that because it's a lot of great ideas, and they're not as familiar with, some of the things that have done in the past, that's okay because we need to do things different in the future, so that's been great. So yeah, they're a good group to work with, and it's nice to see younger people getting involved in community activities like that.
Because you don't really think of the younger people when you think of people who are doing United Way work and Salvation Army work and so forth.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you always think of it as us matrons.
648-5510. Our guest this morning discussing United Way is Mrs. Patti Becker, and we appreciate you taking your time to come up this morning, Mrs. Becker.
Thank you for having me.
There's a lot of people that didn't know a lot of what's going on, particularly you mentioned the Dolly Parton Library. Well, that's kind of off the chart designation, but when you just reflect upon that a minute, there's a lot of work, there's a lot of great things done, just that little bit.
Yeah. I first heard about the Dolly Parton Library years ago, and I thought, oh, that's such a great idea. It would be so great to bring it here, but we just didn't have a way to do it. But we found a way to do that. So yeah, those donations are all kept separate from the donations that we get through the usual United Way campaign. All of that money is designated to the running the show here, but also we have 14 agencies for next year that we are supporting, 14 different programs. So those are all, that money's allocated for that, and then Dolly Parton contributions are kept separate so that we can support that library through those.
Would you just be willing to list your 14 programs, please?
For next year, we have the American Red Cross, the Boy Scouts, Community Action. We support 3 different programs through Community Action, help support. We don't fully fund them by any stretch of the imagination, but Meals on Wheels, we support that program, the Senior Transportation Program, and then also this year, for the first time, we're helping support the Food Pantry Co-op, which I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a program that allows people to volunteer in their food pantry and their other works there, and then they receive vouchers so that they can use those programs too. So they're
and shop at the food
yes, and shop
pantry
at the
then?
food pantry. Yeah.
Oh,
so their
heck,
volunteer
that's a good
hours are turned into contributions. So that's a newer
Wonderful.
program there.
Did you make that up, or did it?
No,
come-
Community Action. Community Action did that. They had a successful program in another community, and they brought it here. So
Good deal.
yeah. And then we also have the Center for Youth and Family Solutions. They're they do counseling service. They work with foster kids, but we mainly work with them with their counseling services. Christian Child Care, we work with them to help provide scholarships, small scholarships if people need help with child care. The Girl Scouts, Girls on the Run, the Lincoln Area YMCA, Lincoln Pastoral Counseling, Living Alternatives Crisis Pregnancy Center, the Oasis, and the Salvation Army. Those are the 14 programs that we'll be working with next
Well,
year.
there isn't one that's not worthy, is
No,
there?
there's a lot of, very worthy organizations out there doing great things. So we've worked closely with most of these guys for many years. The Food Pantry Co-op is a newer one, but the rest of them we've been working with for quite a while.
You mentioned this counseling service. It seems that on the news lately, I've been hearing more and more news stories about the need for counseling for young people.
Right, yeah, that is big, especially during COVID. I think
Yes.
there's a lot of concerns about all of the ramifications of not being able to go to school, not being able to socialize, and that kind of thing. But yes, there's a lot of, and there's resources out there for that as well. But I encourage, if people need resources for mental health issues or anything like that, I really encourage them to at least try calling 211 and telling them, what their need is, where they live, and they should be able to help with, what kind of services are available.
Well, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people whose need isn't for a contribution from you, but rather for some information about where in the world can I get help with
Yes,
this.
absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So that's why 211 is such a good thing, because I've gotten a lot of calls over the years that I've been in that office about people who are looking for shelter or looking for help.
Sure.
And the needs are usually pretty desperate, like, I'm getting kicked out, so to be able to, and my knowledge, while I've been around this community a long time and I work with a lot of great organizations, is still limited to that. So 211 has this great database of resources that go beyond what any one of us know, or so that they can really benefit, people can benefit from using that resource. So
now, if someone is new to United Way Services, can they call and get some ideas from this 211?
Absolutely, yeah. And the beauty of 211, you can look online. It is available online. If you go to 211 or PATH, you can look up services online. But I think one of the best things about it is if you call 211, you will get a person. And that person can ask questions. A live voice, yes,
person.
yes. And that person can look up the resources, can actually help people, ask questions, because sometimes when people call asking for help, they don't know exactly how to ask for or what to ask for. So they can help direct people in, where they need to go. They can also do direct, like if it's someone that's older maybe that has trouble, they can direct them directly to the service. They can connect them directly to the service. So talking to a person, I think, is one of the biggest benefits of that. They also are trained, mostly volunteers there, but they're trained if it's a crisis, like if someone calls that's suicidal or, needs help with mental illness, they're trained in how to handle that. So it's not, they're not just someone answering the phone and looking it up on the database. They know how to handle things. So I think that's the most beneficial part of it.
Oh, yes.
Because you can search the internet for a lot of things, but sometimes people need more than that, especially if they're in crisis and,
Am I naive in asking this question, Mrs. Becker?
I doubt it.
Does your phone ring a lot after hours with United Way questions?
Not a lot, but occasionally.
Well, I'm just thinking about an invasion of your own personal privacy.
Occasionally.
You're entitled to some time.
Occasionally, but not a lot. And now that we have 211, it's something that people can use that's better than me. It's something. I can refer people to that. The police can refer people to that. If you have a friend that's in need, you can refer people to that to really get help. Where like I said, my knowledge of help is limited. I know somewhat, but all of us, we don't know everything that's available.
Speaking of people referring people, surely the police must have many occasions where someone comes to them and their issue is greater than what can be handled by a policeman.
Right.
I mean, they meet all kinds of people all day, all night.
Right, yeah. So we've tried to get that information in their hands so that they know that they can use that as a resource too. Or even with dispatch, I've given the information to dispatch so that they know that if somebody calls in, that's, it may be something that, sometimes when people don't know where to turn, they'll call anybody. I'm sure 911 gets calls of, I don't know that for a fact, but I'm sure they get a lot of calls of people that don't know where to go, and 911 isn't for that. They're for emergencies, for people that need. So 211 is basically the 911 of, resource looking.
Of every day.
Of every day.
Right from our midst.
Yeah.
Right from our midst here in Lincoln, Logan County, we have a lady very involved in helping other people. Patti Becker, representing United Way, with our discussion this morning. This is your last couple of minutes to have a chance to, if you have a question for Mrs. Becker, 648-5510. We'd be happy to try to field any question. I can't tell you where to go to get a drink this morning, but we'll do anything else for you. Your monthly meetings, you have monthly meetings, do you?
Yes, monthly board meetings. Yeah, and we look. We look a lot at the finances. We look at the opportunities we have for any fundraising. We don't do a lot of fundraising, but we do try to do a couple things a year. That was difficult with COVID for every nonprofit. There were a lot of drive-through dinners and things like that. So we look at those opportunities.
Well, COVID. Excuse me, honey. Go right ahead, please.
One of your newest programs is the Dolly Parton libraries. Now, how in the world did you come to to know about that? I mean, that's not written on billboards up and down the highway or anything.
Well, I think I don't remember when I first read about it, but I believe it was through United Way affiliation because a lot of United Ways sponsor Dolly Parton. It doesn't have to be a United Way, but it has to be a nonprofit that sponsors the program. So I believe I saw it through my affiliation with United Way many years ago. Might have been United Way. One of their focuses is education. So they have programs that in different communities do different things, whatever they're able to do. But I think it was through them that I first heard about that.
Mrs. Becker, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make regarding United Way as the clock runs around on us?
I would just like to thank the corporations, the people that support the United Way and support the programs that we have, and there are so many, and this is a great community, and there's so many organizations that support one another, just even the smaller businesses in town that help with fundraisers, that, some of those drive-through dinners, especially we've had through the last couple of years, those are helped by the restaurants that do that are willing to do that to help people. So it's just, when the community comes together like that, it's just a great thing. And together we can just do a lot, to help people. So
Bless your heart.
that's our goal.
Did you have any questions, Mrs. Busby, as we sign off?
No, I could just kiss her on the cheek.
Well, yeah, seriously, the community ought to do that. Again, one of our own community doing great volunteer work. We appreciate your time this morning, Patti.
Thank you.
I found this to be rather expansive, what little knowledge I have. So,
Thanks for the opportunity.
thank you very much, dear. Thank you for Viewpoint.